Welcome back, everybody. We are here in this place doing another episode of Coming From Us to You. Have a great honor of having... He went pro in gaming at the age of 12. He has a Pokemon collection that puts the gold that Smog has to shame. It is Calvert the Fine from Mundelein. Here he is. Thanks for coming, dude. Appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me, man. It's a longtime friend of the pod, fan of the pod.
Absolutely,
Happy
dude.
to be here. I really like your introduction, man. Calvert the Fine from Mundelein.
I thought I was high earlier today, and I thought of that, and I was like, that could either be really gay or it could be really cool.
It worked,
I committed.
I think. It landed. I mean, it landed with me, at least. I know I don't speak for everybody, but...
It started with the thought of, like, I wanted to introduce you like Daenerys Targaryen gets introduced. Breaker of Chains.
Right.
Ender of all slavery.
Right.
I try to
Queen
get you some
of
titles.
the Andals and the Roynars and the First Men. I get it. I appreciate what you were trying to do there, for sure.
That was the first time we've ever done that. So if our numbers spike, thank you to you.
You can use that. You can take that.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I'll get into it. So last weekend, my dad flew in. I was telling you, Salt Lake City. Haven't seen him in 4 years, so that was pretty anxiety-inducing for me.
Wow, 4 years.
Pre-COVID, yeah. So a lot of guilt came in, but hey, we made it. He came. But yeah, Dad's was just so fucking funny. I was driving him somewhere, and he's like, out of nowhere, yeah. So I noticed like fashion changes. I'm like, what, Dad? Yeah, like people are wearing different things. Okay, like what? Like what's the, yeah, fashion changes.
Can
That's
you
how
elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, he is like, yeah. You could just tell when someone's gay now. I'm like, what the fuck, Dad? Like
out of left field. Oh my god.
It's just funny, like dealing with older people, like from a different generation, especially my dad. It's just like, all right, I guess this is how we talk now. But if you think about it, like he went his whole world not knowing any of this, and it's so late and hard to teach an old dog new tricks. He's not anything bad. It's just funny to hear his observations on like stuff that we are well aware of.
Yeah. I feel like, I mean, you've met my dad. My dad is...
That's why I didn't want to talk about it if you didn't want to, but your
same
dad's
way,
a legend.
Maybe, well, yeah, for the right things.
For all the good things.
Yeah, for sure. Great guy. I mean, I'll never forget when he slept in my room in Fight Out that I shared with Drew Ash.
He did? That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, you didn't know this?
Okay, I had to visualize the room. Got it.
Dad's weekend junior year. The man did not book a hotel room. Did not tell me he didn't book a hotel room. Showed up to the house. I was like, why do you have all your stuff with you? He goes, I'm sleeping on your couch. I was like, you can't do that.
Our parents are the same people.
Right. So
That's
he
awesome.
wakes up on Saturday morning. It's a tailgate day, Saturday, nice weather. He opens the door because we were right in front of the water fountain.
Yep.
In the middle of like the epicenter of the house.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like the center of the gravity of that beautiful establishment.
The soul is in that direct vicinity.
Right,
Yes.
exactly. And he opens up the door and there's a bar right there. And there's just...
Wait, like a physical bar?
No, like the pledges had set up like a table with vodka and... Oh, God. Taka and Kharkov.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into that. But
Nightmares.
And he just opens the door and it's like, 9 a.m. and he just sees people ripping shots right there. And he walks, turns around, puts his shirt on, grabs handheld camcorder and just runs around the tailgate with that all day. It was incredible.
I never heard that story. That's awesome.
He has I'll get the footage. I'll find the footage and share it because he definitely has it still.
If you have that footage, it's going to be the background of the intro that we end up putting on this podcast.
I'm cool with that because it is... that was a day. But yeah, he...
was that sophomore year?
Junior year, yeah.
Oh, shit. So I forgot we lived sophomore and junior year and then out senior.
Yeah.
I always fuck that up.
Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah. Dads say a lot of out of left field shit for sure. And that generation.
But we love
is
them for it.
Yeah, of
we
course.
love them for it. Yeah.
The generation right before everything started to get, I'll say, I guess, unwhitewashed.
Yeah.
Where it was less okay to say things that
are
questionable.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think, like, anything in our lifetime. Like, the biggest one for ours is probably... Our lifetime is, like, the R word. Like, retarded.
Yeah.
That's the only one I can... I don't want to go too far into this stuff, but...
This is a very slippery slope.
I can feel myself slipping down the slope. But anyways, yeah, dads are cool. So we went golfing at one point.
Okay.
Sydney Maravitz used to be called Waveland. 9-holer on the water. I was like, 9 holes, perfect. Let's do it. Never golfed them. He's good. He's better than me. So that made me feel good, kind of. But at one point, he fucking hits the green. We're on a par 5. We have a shot into this green, and the people ahead of us, it was really busy. They leave. So that pretty much is like, okay, go ahead. We can shoot our shots, right? In the golf etiquette world. They have left the area. My dad just hit a bad shot, and it kind of like trickled towards the next tee box where that group had been and like rolled maybe into them. I visually saw it, and I was like, okay. We both yelled 4, by the way. So second etiquette cue.
Okay.
And I saw it roll, so I'm like, okay, we're good. Like, there's no way, like normally if that happened to me, I'd be like, oh, like, whatever. Even if I didn't hear 4.
Right.
Fast forward, like, after my shot, we're walking up. This fucking jackass is walking at us with a ball in his hand, like, above his head. And I'm like, oh, great, here we fucking go. Dude rocks up, goes, hey, you want to yell fucking 4 next time? To me and my dad. And I'm like, this is just, like, the worst scenario ever.
Do you think he was being sarcastic? Or do you think he heard? Or do you think he didn't hear you at all?
I think he didn't hear me because we were far and the wind was blowing into us.
Okay.
So that was fine. But like the fact, like for you to react in that way, I visually saw that ball hit the ground and then roll in the direction.
Right.
That, like, even if that hit you, yeah, that's kind of annoying, but it's not going to hurt you.
Right.
The idea is if it's on the fly and like hit you in the head, that's fucked up.
For sure.
Not even close to that. I go, hey, man, we both yelled 4. So he's like, well, I didn't hear you. I go, wind's blowing into us. Sorry, we yelled it. And then we got close enough to where he could ID us, and he recognized that we weren't 2 kids. I think he thought we were 2 kids, like trying to rush their play.
Yeah.
And
not respecting the sport, taking your time.
Exactly, which I could get. And then he kind of changed his tune. He's like, oh, man, like that was just really close. And I go, well, are you okay? And he didn't say anything. I'm like, dude, are you okay? Like, you're acting like we were close. Are you okay? He's like, yeah, man, it was just really close. And like, I saw him, like, he left, went to my dad, it was his ball, and goes, yeah, you were right around here. Drops the ball. Which also in golf etiquette, another lesson, you don't pick up somebody else's ball. It's fucked up.
Let them put their pin down.
Yeah.
That's not even.
Exactly. So he did that and walks away. My dad starts, fucking, you know how you go to the shower and you win every argument you've ever had since you were in 3rd grade? My dad started doing that. Like, and I knew it was going to happen. I'm like, yeah, don't worry about him. He's a dickhead. He was riding with a girl. I'm like, he's probably on a first date trying to be macho. And my dad's like not super well spoken, but like, because English is his second language. And he's like, yeah, fucking macho. Like, he picked up my ball. And I'm like, yeah, that's fucked up, Dad, but you had a great shot. Like, you're good. Like, trying to calm the situation.
Right. We're not at the Masters here. Like,
exactly.
You can't play it where it lies in this particular figure of speech, but like, just play it where it now lies.
Exactly. So we did it. It was fine. It was just like more so this guy like coming. It was like aggressive, dude. I literally thought I was gonna have to fight this guy. But
wow.
Yeah, that was cool. And then but yeah, we ended up having a great day, so I didn't let it affect us. Although I did bring it up to about everybody I saw for the next,
of course,
4 hours.
Good golf story, right? Good dad story, dads and golf, 2 good things put together there. Was so that was this most recent weekend?
Yeah,
Memorial Day.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. Yeah. So we got good 3 days out of him. We got to go. I know you'd be into it. Going down to Chinatown, getting some food at Chinatown.
I was just there 2 weekends ago, 3
Fuck
weekends
yeah.
ago.
Do you drive or take the train, or how do you get down?
So from my place, because I live, hop, skip, and a jump from the highway, it's like with no traffic, like a 15, 16-minute drive. It's easy.
Yeah, and they have a lot of parking down there. I drove down there and like just found street parking. It was nice.
Yep, exactly. Super easy. And I believe that's where we were as well. I can't remember the name of the restaurant that we went to, but it was right over there in, I think, Fountain Square, or maybe it's Chinatown Square. I can't remember, but it's a pretty popular spot for people who are coming to visit Chinatown.
Was it like dim sum or anything specific?
It wasn't dim sum specifically. It was just like a Chinese cuisine restaurant, and they had a lot of cuisine from other facets of Asian culture. Like there was Japanese, and they had a little bit of Korean on the menu. But it was a recommendation from one of our friends who frequents down there, is part of the culture.
Fuck yeah.
And it was a really enjoyable experience. So we walked through the strip mall when we were done, and it just
They have a cool little mall right there. I never talked. Yeah,
I think we're talking about the same spot.
Yeah.
I don't know the correct nomenclature per se.
yeah, Fountain Square sounds right.
Yeah,
I do remember seeing Fountain
right
Square.
on the, I want to say the east side of the square. There's like, it kind of just looks like an open concrete area with like a circle of like bronze or some sort of metal statues.
Yep, there's that, and then there's like a theater right just like on the street of the corner.
Yeah,
Yep,
so that's where we were.
exactly. Yeah, that place is awesome.
Big fan.
My dad, have you ever been to Argyle Street?
I have not.
Argyle, my dad fucking, it's so funny. Like he's been here like 3 times, and it was like in the 90s, and he's like, every time he comes, he's like, we got to go to Argyle Street. I'm like, all right. It's like, they call it Little Asia. It's very, very small. It's like 2 streets, and it's got a bunch of pho, whatever you call it. And it's cool. Definitely, you see pigs hanging in like the market, and there's like actually fucking, talk about a place that's avoided inflation. Asian markets. Dude, I got like what would be at Target $25 worth of stuff, $8.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. So anyway, side story. So up on Argyle Street, we saw a place. It was called Double Happiness. Classic Asian name for a restaurant. Double Happiness. Dude, the restaurant names of Asians, it's so funny. The little translations.
Take that in a different direction than restaurant. I thought that might end up being one of those, massage parlors.
Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. It was a restaurant called Double Happiness.
Okay, right.
Legit restaurant. We almost ate there. And then like the next day we went down to Chinatown. That was Argyle Street. We went down to Chinatown. And there was fucking triple happiness, dude.
No way.
There was a triple happiness.
So where is single happiness? That's the question.
That was my question. I also was on the hunt for quadruple happiness. Because they're out there, dude.
Yeah. So out of curiosity, where is Argyle Street in comparison geographically if it's not in Chinatown?
So
because you've referred to it as Little Asia.
Yes.
And then you've mentioned that you went from Argyle Street to Chinatown. So where does one who might be interested in double happiness
find
that
question.
place?
I love that question. I should have clarified. It is Argyle is north. It's one street north. So if you take Lakeshore Drive, you would get off at Lawrence.
Okay.
And then it's one street up is Argyle. And you really get to Argyle Street 2 blocks off of Lakeshore. Okay. So it's a hop, skip, and a jump. Yeah. It's not that bad. Is hop, skip, and a jump long or short? Probably. Or does that imply the number of routes that you need to take?
I was thinking,
turns.
I was reflecting in real time on that because I said it and I was like, I believe that is a term of phrase that is used when something is not close.
Not close. Okay.
Right.
So it's just a hop.
Right. If it's close, you're just, maybe you're hopping or you're skipping, but like you're not hopping, skipping, and jumping to get there.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, why would you have to do all 3 of those actions to get somewhere if it's, right there? You know what I mean?
That's a good point. Yeah. So it's definitely just a hop. There's not a skip or a jump involved.
For sure.
You should check it out. I think you'd like it. Yeah, it's definitely not the selection of like Chinatown. Chinatown's big, dude. I used to only think that there was that concrete, that spot you were talking about, Fountain Square. You know, the big gate that goes south?
Yep.
I went down there for the first time, and that,
Well, that's where a lot of the like traditional Chinese architecture is as well.
Yes.
Is when you go south down that street instead of taking that right to get to that. We're talking about Chinatown, and realistically, our scope that we're talking about is like that one strip mall and park.
Yes.
But if you go south, I know what you're talking about. Is you start to get into a lot of that traditional Chinese architecture.
Yeah,
and it looks, it's very intriguing. You get to learn a lot about that history.
It's cool. Yeah, I wish I knew more about architecture, but I had a renaissance, literally. When my Uncle Joe was in town over the winter, we went to the Chicago Art Museum.
Yeah.
Have you been?
Well,
I think we talked about
Contemporary Art or the Art Institute?
Art Institute.
Right down there off Michigan?
Yes.
Yeah. All the time. I go.
It's amazing, dude.
Pretty regularly. The last time I went was when they had, it was in February, late February, early March. I want to say they had a Salvador Dali exhibit there.
No shit.
I could be wrong.
They have a number of Dalis there, but they weren't all consolidated.
They do their rotating exhibits, and we were there for, I want to say it was like I think. I mean, we can always cross-reference the internet, but Brennan and I go pretty regularly.
Do you have a pass?
We had a pass last year. We don't have a pass right now.
Dude, I think I'm gonna follow suit on you. Follow suit on that. Yeah, dude, that place is amazing. Like, what really turned me on, like, 'cause prior, I really didn't give a shit about art, to be frank. And
Same
you
here.
walk in there and you like are actually moved by these pieces, like seeing Vincent van Gogh's self-portrait and seeing that orange pop off of like the subtle whites that he's like layering in there. You see pictures of it and it does not do it justice. You get in there.
No.
You have you seen that piece?
I'm gonna say probably.
I'm sure you have.
I
But
would-
there's a lot of good ones in there.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. It's like you kind of get to a point where if you don't spend a decent amount of time like studying each piece, sometimes they low key start to. I don't want to say melt together, but
Oh yeah, there's a lot.
it's
of
like,
good
especially
stuff
when
there.
you go and see all of the rotating exhibits, it's kind of hard to keep track of. And I'm not like we were just talking about, I am not one who is traditionally like really invested in art or art history.
Yeah.
And it was really Brenna that mostly got me into it. So like even a lot of the
God bless her. Shout
right?
out.
Absolutely. Shout out Brenna for sure. The better half, helping me become a more intellectual individual outside of just video games.
I've noticed.
Yeah, I like even common art terminology when it comes to like different styles of art, like different types of brushstrokes, different types of materials that are used to create things on canvas, off canvas, whatever it might be. Like, I'm not good with it.
Oh.
Like, admittedly. So have I seen it? Maybe, probably, considering how many times that I've been there and if it's
Sure.
a staple piece.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have. But can I recall the exact piece of artwork that you're talking about at the Art Institute? No, not offhand.
Take 5 minutes next time you go.
And just stand there.
It's stand there for
reflect.
5 minutes, dude.
can
It'll
do that.
move you. It'll move you.
I can do that.
But no, I totally feel it. There's like that was the big thing. To your point, is like there is so many good pieces of art, and like a lot of stuff moves through there. So it's if you come from our background where we never really cared about it, it's hard to all of a sudden jumpstart this huge database of shit that you're gonna see there. But there's definitely a lot of stuff I didn't like. I didn't like the pop, like all the modern shit. I don't know. What do you feel about that stuff? We're getting real nitty gritty into
Right. We're getting into art history here. So it's funny because we often can't compromise because a lot of my stylistic preferences tend to lean towards more like modern or modern
Like
contemporary.
Warhol, you like Warhol stuff? That's pop. I don't even know. Like, what do you call
To
that?
an extent, I'm not educated enough to be able to tell you.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
like,
I don't know either.
You're
honestly.
barking up the wrong tree. Here.
We're out of our depth here.
But like I'm much more of like a neutral tones, like marbles, granites, stones type of, grays, blacks, whites with like oak finishes, oak touches, and like brass. Like that's kind of where my
You're
stylistic.
talking about sculptures?
I'm just
or-
talking about like general style. Because
Okay,
that's
okay.
typically what's associated with like modern or modern contemporary.
I got you.
Modern contemporary
You're
gets
teaching me
obviously
now, dude.
into a little bit of variation from the traditional style, obviously, but it's more reserved in a sense. But I don't like that's as far as it goes, and she had to teach me that because I just didn't know.
Is she good with the art stuff? Like, does she know? Oh,
Yes,
okay.
she's
That's cool. That's an awesome like partner to have that can actually teach you that stuff.
absolutely, because I wouldn't. My place would look so. My preferences, everything would look so different. You would be able to tell that a single man was living there if.
But you got
If
the
not-
man cave. You got the man cave.
Yeah.
The office, I guess I should say.
Yeah, the office.
Politically.
The office. We'll go with the office. The man
Office.
cave is.
That was trite.
I don't have a
That was
basement yet,
trite and
so-
gross of me to say. I shouldn't
Yeah,
have said
but
that.
I mean it's okay. Like I'm a big supporter of the she shed. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
cool. I've never heard of that before, but I'm going to
You
use that
haven't
all
heard
the
of
time.
the she shed?
No, it's fucking awesome though. Why would you not want a she shed just around you in
Right, that's-
general?
100%. No, but like, yeah. Well,
So in that man cave, in that office, shit. In that office,
yeah.
you do some things. I led you in with going pro at 12.
Going pro.
I wanted to guess because I know that you did play at a competitive level.
Yeah.
Gaming wise, what at what age did you go?
Oh God, let me think. When was I 12? 2007. Probably a little bit older than that, I would say. I think a lot of my like
You're preteen, teen.
Yeah, I think a lot of my semi-professional career started like late middle school, early high school. Like it tapered off towards the end of high school. Like by the time late junior, early senior year had come around, I was like not playing competitively anymore, just because life happens and
Sure. What were you playing? Halo?
So it was mostly first-person shooters,
Okay.
with the exception of Gears. So
At that time was what?
competitively, it was Gears 3. Eventually,
But you didn't play Gears.
Eventually, Gears 4. No, I did.
Oh, you
I did
did?
play Gears.
Oh.
Like with.
Oh, that's not a first
That's
person.
the
That's a third
exception of the
person.
first. Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
An exception of the first-person shooter category.
Got it.
So my big games were Halo 2 and 3,
Oh, shit.
Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare, which I don't know why I said the whole title. Call of Duty 4 is Modern Warfare.
Okay,
Modern
I
Warfare.
was like, damn, they slipped one in there on me.
No. They did not. I slipped one in there on you. It was COD 4, Modern Warfare 2, and then MW3, and then Black Ops 1 and 2. And I know that sounds like a lot, but they were still.
You weren't playing them all at once, like as Modern Warfare went from 1 to 2.
Yeah, so a lot of the more competitive stuff came MW3, Black Ops 1 and 2.
Not MW2.
I mean,
Is that a relic of the times or your personal progression? Like what?
I mean, a little bit of both. Like you can't get the ACR and intervention combo out of my head. Like you won't ever be able to do it because that was like if you ran either of those guns and found the other one on the floor, like that was fantastic. But
what was that? What was that sand map? Where like you could run the arch all the way up. Afghan.
Yeah.
Fucking dude.
Afghan.
Got my one and only nuke on Afghan.
Yeah, the nukes went crazy.
Chopper gunner or AC-130?
AC-130. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah.
On Afghan?
Absolutely.
All the time?
I'll be honest with you.
Sometimes.
So for me, this is gonna sound so fucking cocky, but for me, it didn't really matter to I wasn't one who changed my kill streaks too much depending on the map. Like if I was playing,
Let me guess. So 7 Harrier,
yeah,
11 AC-130, 25 nuke.
yeah.
Okay, classic. Yeah.
Was the nuke a selectable kill streak or was it?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think it was Cruise, Harrier, and then your choice of
5, 7, 11.
aerial support. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Nuke you always had in the
Nuke
bag.
was just I think that's how it's always been.
That's true.
But I wasn't really. I only changed my kill streaks depending on the game mode, or if I was playing competitively versus with friends or not competitively. Because back then, the esports industry was not nearly as developed as it is today. So now, if you get on Call of Duty, there's ranked leagues, you have the Call of Duty League, you have all of those things that are accessible. They're widely published on Twitch. They're run on different platforms. So
What was the gaming?
GameBattles.com.
Game Battles.
Which was run at the time, which I believe still is. The platform is still used by MLG.
Oh, they use the platform to
MLG
host
runs Game Battles. And that's how it was in the beginning, and that's when I started.
Damn, talk about a buyout.
Back in the day before Twitch was a thing, don't get me wrong, you still had back then your big esports names, Optic, Envy, Rogue,
Skype,
FaZe, Skype. What do you do? Get out of here.
You couldn't Skype? You couldn't Skype your games?
You couldn't. No, I'm talking about professional organizations.
Oh, I
not
know.
platforms.
I was making a dumb joke that you could Skyping was really good.
Whoosh. Great
Sorry.
subreddit. You should check it out. But yeah, back in the day, that was all it was. You had to have a cap card to.
Right, I forgot about the cap cards.
Yeah, because that was the thing. Because there wasn't major streaming platforms available at the time, and in order to with Game Battles, there was no real time officiation.
Yeah,
unless it was part of a professionally sponsored tournament.
That's true. So you had to go cap card versus cap card.
It was the captain of each team reporting the results.
Yeah, right.
So it's if somebody if a good team with a good record who's top page on Game Battles lost, they would say they won because they didn't want to get rid of their standing.
But they wouldn't go to the cap card and be yo.
If you were playing against someone who didn't have anybody on the team with capabilities to record the game, it's a he said. It's literally he said.
Oh
she
my
said.
God.
So that's when I started. That was the era in which I started.
Okay.
So this has been a long-winded answer to what did I play, and that was it was Halo, COD, and Gears were the competitive shooters that I played. Halo 2 and 3, COD's 4 through Black Ops 2. And then Gears 2 and 3 permanently.
Are you playing these all at the same time, or are you cycling?
They were concurrent. I wouldn't like on a Saturday night, I wouldn't play all 3 of them. Like
Yeah.
I'd focus on one game at a time, but it's not like I'd play one game for 6 months and then I'd move on to another franchise. It was like whatever the teams that I had felt like playing. And that was the thing. I didn't play, like I had different teams for the Modern Warfare series for CODs, for the Black Ops series for CODs, for Halo that I played with.
What do you mean when you say series?
Like and Modern Warfare and Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, got it.
So like at the time, it was Activision, Treyarch, and Infinity Ward. Before all of them,
Who did Treyarch? Black Ops.
Treyarch does
Right.
Infinite Warfare.
In Black Ops,
no,
right?
that's Activision. Treyarch was
Activision did-
Cold War. The Cold War series was, and they were, at the time back in the day, they were all. It was 2 joint studios, and I believe Activision and Infinity Ward were together still. So they split.
Oh, I forgot about
And
that.
Infinity
Yeah.
Ward did like Infinite Warfare and Advanced Warfare and Ghosts.
Yeah.
And then
Sucked.
I believe Activision does the current Modern Warfare series that we play. And then I believe Treyarch is anything that has to do with zombies. So like Cold War.
Black Ops.
And yeah, Black Ops.
Yeah.
I believe.
I thought
I could be
so.
mistaken on that. It's been a long time since I've looked at which specific development studio does each specific franchise. But when I say series, I meant I had a team that I would play the Black Ops games with, and then I had a team that I would play Modern Warfare games with.
How did you meet your teams?
All of them were online.
Craigslist?
Craigslist. I meet a lot of interesting people on Craigslist. Yeah, online. The LFG function that Microsoft has baked into the Xbox platform was still a thing back then. Looking for group.
What?
So,
so
so each
looking for
game
group.
has a functionality that, like, if you click on it, instead of like clicking A to launch the app, like if you press start to look at all the available options.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
you go into the social tab or clubs,
That's new though, right?
It's kind of new.
You taught me about this like about a year ago, and I thought it was like 2 years new. Like COVID new. COVID.
It's so the ease of access is new.
Yeah.
It wasn't a widely known feature functionality of
Gotcha.
the systems, but it did exist. That being said, there were also forums at the time. Think about that word, forums, bro. When was the last time you said the word forum?
Forum is a crazy concept
Think
to me.
about that.
When I think
like
of
a help forum for like Microsoft or
it's actually
Google.
it's been so long since those help forums that I just go all the way back to ancient Rome, and I assume that they were having forums all the time,
Back
right?
to Pompeii.
That Pompeii was totally. They probably had a forum for the volcano explosion in Pompeii, right?
Help, ashes falling from the sky. What do I do?
Called the forum. The forum has answers.
The forum, lay down and curl up is what you need to do.
That's probably
But-
what they would say.
Forums is how I met a lot of the people that I played with back at the time, because there wasn't really like an effective avenue of finding people. And again, I'm going to sound a little contrite, but like I couldn't play with the people that I knew in real life because they just did not hold the same skill level.
No.
You can attest to this because you've
Yeah, I know what you
physically
mean.
seen me play a lot of these games.
Oh.
But it's like when I tell people that like I have a certain like requirement of skill to play with me when I play games, it's not because I'm being a dickhead or I'm full of myself.
No.
It's because like I quite literally will lose it if I
Dude,
don't.
so for the longest time, because I played a fuck ton of Modern Warfare 2, and for whatever dumbass reason, I thought that I was really good. I met you. Obviously, that was the high school days. I met you, and I'm like, all right, whatever. And I saw you play, and I'm like, okay, this guy is the real fucking deal, and like I am a nobody. There are levels, is what I'm trying to say. I discovered another level with you, and I've never before felt so bad as when I asked you to help me and Devin at the time, or Randall, beat a tournament in Rocket League.
I think it was. I almost want to say it was Ian. I think it was Ian.
It might have been Ian, and I begged you, and you finally lined it up, because the tournaments come out like at certain times, right? So it lined up with you.
Got him the Smurf.
You had
account.
nothing better to do, and you just proceeded to score 5 goals every game for us and win the tournament, and we didn't do anything.
Rocket League is probably my worst game that I play.
It's insane. Yes.
Like I don't even. I will say that
you were casual about it.
I'm not very good at Rocket League. Like
I mean,
the skill gap on Rocket League is much more severe than when it comes to a lot of the shooters because of how much aid there is for shooters now. And
Yeah, but they're
when I say
killing that,
aid,
right?
it's not. They're trying to. Not all of the games have implemented it yet.
I thought Apex was the last one that didn't implement. What's the USB thing called?
A Cronus Zen.
Cronus.
Zen. Yeah, the industry refers to it as a strike pack. So there's different brands and different companies.
It's all about
that make
recoil,
these
right?
Yeah, it's all about, like, you can literally go into it once it's plugged into your system, and you can program each individual weapon to cancel out its recoil pattern.
So it's just fucking dead on every time.
It's literally it's point and shoot. Like, that's it.
Yeah. But do you really want to do that though? Like,
that's my thing. Is like, where do you derive the joy in doing that? Because, like, for me, what's so enjoyable, other than, being really fucking good, is that, like, I'm good naturally at it. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't have to have the aid.
Yeah, it takes away from it. It's like,
I program each of my individual pitches and yaws, which are your horizontal and vertical, like, look.
What do you use, 7 and 10?
It depends on the game. Like, some games do, like, straight 1 to 10 numeric scales. Some of them are
exponential and stuff like that.
Yeah, like,
Gotcha.
it just depends on the game, but, like, you relatively get to a curve, right? You know what your dead zone is. You know what your controller inputs are. You know the type of input that you like to have when it comes to your controllers, and it's actually been one of the hardest parts about the PC. Is, like, I've been trying to play on mouse and key, and, like, I've been trying not to plug the controller into the PC, and it is hard. So it is not easy. So you just answered it.
I always forget that you can just keep your console controller for the PC.
Yeah, exactly.
Have you? So you just made the transition, right? Last week.
Yeah, the last Thursday. It hasn't even been a full week since I bought the PC, but yeah.
And how do you feel about it so far? Have you done key and mouse? I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, I mean, as far as the system goes, I've been, like, back and forth on whether or not I wanted to get it for a while, because I've kind of, I've always been heavily involved in the gaming industry. I keep up with the news. I keep up with game development. I keep up with the studios. Like, I have a community.
You're a well-studied guy. You're well-studied and you're involved.
I guess in one area of my life at least, but
more than me.
So it was just one of those crazy, like, happenstance things where I've been talking about it for a good while, right? And I made the decision to start, like, just, like, looking around and shopping around just to see what my options were, because I can build the PC if I want to, but, like, I don't really want to. Like, I'm kind of a lazy guy when it comes to that kind of thing, and, like, it's not that I couldn't do it. It's like I'm just kind of lazy. But
is there physical labor involved with that?
I mean, there's not a ton of physical labor, but, like, when you buy a pre-built versus something that you have to buy, like, there's different variability levels when it comes to how much of the PC you can have put together when you get it. But, like, if you're building a PC from scratch, like, it's not just, like, the primary components of the GPU, the CPU, the motherboard. Like,
there's a lot.
You're talking about the casing, the power, the cooling, each individual component and peripheral that's on the motherboard that's not RAM and storage. Like, there's a lot of individual components that go into that.
Got it.
And when you're installing a processor into a motherboard versus having a processor come on the motherboard, you are using the proprietary adhesive to stick it to the motherboard.
Are you, like, fucking splicing it, or what does it look like?
Thankfully, you're not splicing it, and you're not soldering a processor.
You're not soldering is the word.
You would fry the damn thing if you tried to solder it. Which is what some of the most clean environments in the world, other than operating rooms, are processor manufacturing facilities.
For what reasons?
Because a single speck of dust, when it comes to, like, the way that processors are made, they're inscribed at the nanometer level. So they are physically programmed into their circuitry with a silicon wafer that goes through a refining process that then has I believe they're at 3 nanometer right now, which is, like, the industry standard across Intel, AMD, and Apple, who has taken all of their silicon development proprietary. So now any Apple product that you buy in the market, primarily, mostly, I'm going to put an asterisk on this because it's not 100% there, will have an Apple processor. Before, what they didn't want to tell you, and I know this because I worked in the industry, and you can find this if you Google it, is that they had Intel processors in them. Like, there was a contract that Apple and Intel had that put Intel processors in Apple's products, but Apple didn't have to, like, proactively advertise that there were Intel chips in them.
So what do they say though when people ask for the specs of the new?
I mean, it's in the system properties. Like if you just go into the PC, you can see what it is by just looking at it, and like that's part of what you do when you research like buying a PC. Like you can see it, but it's not like with like HP, Dell, and Lenovo, for example. Like when you look at their system, it's like Intel sticker or AMD sticker. That's part of the contract that they had with Apple for a very long time because Apple. They are their own ecosystem, right? Every product that they have is Apple. What you're dealing with is Apple, but it's powered by Intel, or it was. So
it's not anymore.
As of 2
the
years
M1,
ago,
the M2s,
yep,
right?
the M1s and the M2s. So
I know something. I know something.
The MacBooks,
dude.
the MacBook Pros. Do they still do the Airs? I'm not a Mac.
Oh, I just bought. Baby.
Is that an Air over there?
Dude,
so I'm not a MacBook user.
The only reason I was for longevity, I bought one computer in my life. I bought it freshman year, right before college, and I just got rid of it this year for this one. So like, it lasted me that long.
Yeah. I mean, if you take care of it, it'll last for sure.
That was the big thing. I did get got though at the Apple store. I was just gonna get a fucking Pro, dude. I was like, I'm gonna get a Pro. I know pros, and this fucking lady is just like, think about the Air. It actually, so the specs were. You're gonna know way more than me. I don't recall, but spec wise, everything was pretty fucking similar. And honestly, this had like better specs in some regards. Like I think the GPU's a little bit more. And I'm out of my depth. I'm not even gonna try. But anyways, got this. It's fine. Editing wise, it's totally cool. But like it'll definitely slow down a little bit with like iMovie. So
yeah,
I think that laptops in general though just aren't gonna have what you need, right?
Yeah,
like
for sure. I mean, it comes down to the workload. Like, don't get me wrong. There are a lot of manufacturers who do make products that are oriented towards being more mobile for a content creator on the go. But yeah, you're typically starting to look at more of a stationary type of device because you typically need more of that computing power and the adjacent peripherals that will help to support and give you that workload.
Like and what do you need? Like for example, video AV editing.
So
GPU, RAM. Like what do you need?
So in terms of I'll give you just like. So I'll break it down a couple ways. Like the
memory,
the average. Yes, that is part of it. Great word association. So like the PC that I just bought has. I feel like you know what I'm going to skip this part just because the audience is it's going to be too many speeds and feeds and nobody needs that.
What's a speed and feed?
Like the operating frequency of the processor, like the type of connector.
Layman's term. Give it to me in dumb man term.
So in layman's terms, there are different thresholds, and the terminology that the average person is typically familiar with is you have a mobile device, you have a tablet, you have a laptop, you have a mini PC or a thin client, you have a desktop.
Thin client? I've never heard that before.
It's a B2B. It's a B2B.
That's
term.
a hot word.
It's a mini PC.
Holy shit!
And then you have a desktop, and then you have a workstation. So a workstation again, another fancy B2B term that is heavily used in the industry.
Multi display? Is that what we're talking about?
Typically will have multiple displays, but those are like your extremely high end, like $10,000 machine. Like that's like, again, I'll caveat this and say not exactly, but like the next step up in terms of a computing theorem perspective would be like supercomputing. Like a workstation is something that's going to have like the fastest processor that you can overclock and you can customize the feeds on. It's going to have the best graphics card, which I can't remember what NVIDIA is up to now. They're in the 4000s. I think the most recent one was like the 4030 or the 4080 or something like that.
So when you're at that level and you always have the most high end stuff, so how often does a new graphics card come out, you think?
So the typical refresh cycle on GPUs and CPUs typically tends to fall between 1 and 2 years.
Is that long? Really? I thought it would be like 6 months.
Which the average, so fun fact, it takes 6 months to develop a new processor from start to finish, which is why for a very long time, especially during the pandemic, during the initial phases where there was a lot of issues with consumer electronics and stock, is because you can't just walk in and like turn the machine on and develop a processor. The process has been significantly more refined with modern technology, but it still takes anywhere from 4 to 6 months to make a processor from scratch.
Like just to make it?
Just to make it.
What's the longest time? Like, what's taking so fucking long?
So it's part of the refining process that really slows it down is because the raw materials into the silicon wafer that are used, and then the silicon wafer has to be trimmed and refined further, and then it is inscribed with all of the electrical components that allow for it to be plugged into a computer, a mobile device, the TV that you have sitting on the wall, anything that you a smart thermostat. Like, those aren't
Holy
just things that are
fuck.
connected to the internet. Like, they have a processor in them.
This is opening my mind because when you say things like silicone wafer, that makes me think
Right,
like,
it's not a regular term. Like, nobody says that.
but that's fucking insane. Like, it's like it speaks a lot to just like to the level of technology that we have reached and like how far we've come.
For
Like,
sure.
tech wise, I mean, if you're talking about developing something that we all have, whether it be a thin tape, what is it?
What do you call a customer? What's another
Thin person,
another term for a customer?
thin client.
Thin client. Yes.
If you have a thin client, you have a at-home workstation, you have a desktop. We all have these things. If you're listening to this podcast, at least, the fact that it takes would you say 4 to 6 months?
4 to 6 months, and they're continually working on refining that process. And if you or anybody who's listening to this or watching this ever looks it up, it is measured in nanometers. So what that does when we're talking about nanometers, that is the size of the distance of the inscription that allows for the individual circuits that are inside of the processor to process logic in real time. So the smaller you have on a scale of nanometers, the faster the processor can operate.
Why is smaller just because the distance is the amount of time it takes for
The physical real estate on the chip.
Yeah, but you want it so dense because that is speed, right? Like, it's less distance for information to travel,
Exactly.
right? So like the closer you can get.
You can almost think of it as like synapses in the brain.
Yeah,
Like
okay.
that's how it is with processors. Because there's a lot of new terminology coming out here, but integrated circuits are part of everything that you use, and they're not just in processors. That's like a blanket term for how electrical components on a motherboard communicate with each other.
Have you heard anything about how we create technology around stuff that like we understand, right? So I'm kind of like not recalling it, but like basically like what you're talking about right now, motherboards, processors, it acts like as a neural network, and we kind of had like a
Correct.
general understanding of like the human anatomy. So like it's funny that when we were creating supercomputers or like our super brains, the people, I mean, like who were the forefounders of this stuff? It's all modeled around the human central nervous system.
Well, I mean, and
So what is that?
That is literally, it's funny. It's not even a conundrum, but when you think about, the brain and that being the central processing system of the human body and the motherboard being referred to metaphorically as the same thing is because of something that stems from a psychological understanding from the brain of bias.
Yeah. No, that's totally right. Yeah.
At least that's how I would look at it in the most simplistic terms. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I know a lot of stuff because I've had the opportunity to work in the industry for, my young adult and young professional career, right?
Sure.
I did recruiting for hardware, software, and systems engineers for 2 years. I've been working in the IT industry for 4 since then. 2 of those years spent directly working with Intel.
And what got you all there? What degree? Where did you go to school?
Wow, throwing it back. So I graduated from the Indiana University School of Informatics, it's called Luddy now. Fun fact, that's changed quite a bit. I was just there this last weekend. I kind of almost wish I was back in school right now because of how much attention they've given to the informatics program.
No shit, really?
Dude, it's crazy. Like, there's a whole new campus. Like, the buildings behind Swain East and West where those mathematics classes were, like, that's a new informatics campus, like, in the back there.
Still north of 3rd Ave or 3rd Street?
Or, I'm sorry, not Swain. The buildings across the street from the track outside of the Hyper at the corner of 10th and Dunn or Indiana.
Right by where, right by
like
10th
across
Park.
from Collins, kitty corner to Collins.
Oh, shit. Okay.
Sidebar, caddy corner, kitty corner.
I was always a catty corner guy, but I know you're a kitty corner.
Yeah, is that a regional thing?
It's totally regional, but I love it. I love it though, because you're at a party and you say that shit.
Right.
Some people are fucked up enough to just like start yelling at each other about
topic
it.
of conversation.
Oh, it's also a good topic of conversation, which we'll use that. Like, so milk and milk is like a big one that like if you say milk, you're trying too hard right now.
Like I have people that I've worked with who are from Wisconsin who actually say bag, like for bag. That like,
I mean, that's an accent.
Right. It's like, who says milk? That's
yeah,
not
that's
a thing.
Crazy. It's crazy.
And if you do say milk, I'm sorry. I don't mean to be insensitive, but who are you? Like, what? Don't.
It's unacceptable
anyway,
behavior.
Moving on.
It's people trying. But yeah, that's good. And then what else? I always have a list of them I go through. Got any?
Well, I could finish my education.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. I cut into that.
That's all right.
Please,
I like to interrupt people too. So, Indiana University School of Informatics, which was like a fancy way of saying information sciences. So the way that the program was structured was you didn't have a minor, you had a cognate. That's what they called it, a cognate. Okay. And that is like the field of study that you applied your learnings to. Yeah. So you got like
a subspecialty.
Exactly. Yeah. So you got like your foundational information, your foundational education on concepts, methodologies, research, what makes the field of study the field of study.
What year do you get into the cognates?
So you pick your cognate, like, I mean, you can change it at any time, obviously, but you pick your cognate when you start in the program. Okay. So when I went there wasn't like an acceptance program or like an acceptance avenue, I guess I'll say. It was just like if you wanted to be in the, if you went to Indiana and you wanted to do informatics, you could do informatics. Like it wasn't like you didn't have to apply like the Kelly School of Business, for example.
I'm right there with you, dude. Biology, walked into it.
Yeah, right. And that's, I guess I'll get into that story in a minute. But I started out trying to get into Kelly, and I stopped.
Oh, man.
But
you were better than that. Fuck Kelly. Fuck him, dude.
Yeah, fuck them all. Shout out Matt East.
Shout out to Matt East and Mark Cuban.
Mark Cuban, a real one, keeping it real. But yeah, so I just picked business as my cognate, and it was just how information systems help with the innovation and evolution of how information technology drives business. Yeah. And I know that's a very loose term because you can classify any transaction as
life
business.
Is loose, dude.
But yeah, for sure. But that was just like one of those things, and how I got to that was actually the story that I was referencing. Is I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like I was one of the first people in my family to go to like a big university. Like my dad, he put himself through school, and shout out to that man because he went through some grueling shit when he was younger. He worked like 80 hours a week. He put himself through college, paid for himself, and like got himself to where he was.
Fuck yeah.
Major props, major respect. Look up to him a lot for that.
Hell yeah.
I didn't really I didn't get financial education when I was younger. And like my whole philosophy, since I had no idea what I wanted to do, was I'm going to apply to colleges that I don't have to write an essay to get into.
Sure.
And then I'm going to...
Did we have to write one for AU?
I didn't. I
don't think I did.
I think it was optional. I mean, maybe you had to write an essay if you wanted to apply for direct admission to Kelly, which I didn't do.
I think I did early admission, so I might have. But did you ever do like that master application that applied to like certain?
I did not. I know what you're talking about.
I did. I think I went halfway through, and I was like, "Fuck this shit."
Yeah, because it was like just like a framework that you could use for any colleges that were in the network that you could like apply the application to.
And like 30% of the application was like valid. You had to redo 70%.
The rest of it was bullshit. It was not bullshit, but it was specific to the school. Yeah. Like you couldn't really.
It basically saved your name, your birthday, your address, and your email.
Yeah, something like that. No, I never used that. But I did apply to only schools that I didn't have to write an essay to get into. And like the list wasn't very big. And honestly,
work smart.
The only 3 schools that I like can recall from that list at this point were DePaul, which I got into and got a scholarship to.
Holla. There you go.
Glad I mean, retrospect, hindsight, whatever you want to say, 2020. Glad I didn't go, but like also my fucking finances don't love me for that. And then
you would have been in-state. I forgot you're Illinoisian.
So well, it was a private university. DePaul is a Catholic institution.
Gotcha.
So I got a scholarship but like, you know, I didn't get, and then IU is the other one that I remember, and then Miami of Ohio. For some reason.
Of course, you remember IU.
Well, obviously, I went there. Duh. No
And then
shit.
Miami of Ohio.
Miami, Ohio. I applied to like 7 or 8 schools, but those are the only 3 that I like can consciously recall.
Hey, that's good.
But yeah, I just was like, oh, all right. Like this business school looks good. Like I'll do that. And then I got here and I figured out that like if you're not a direct admit, you basically have to work your sack into the ground to get into the school.
Yeah.
And what really took the cake for, you know, what really iced the cake of not going into Kelly was I had, I think it was called the Kelly Compass class. It was like the career development class that you had to take before you got in, and it was like
Compass. I remember people talking about Compass.
Yeah, I think it was Compass.
People
and it was
keep talking about Compass.
You got to miss 2 classes, and every class after that was a half of a letter grade off of your final grade.
So show up, basically.
I didn't come to. So here's the catch.
You didn't go.
I didn't come. Well, yes, I didn't come to college with any credits, so my course selection was really late. So
I bet they prioritized you based on
they
what you
prioritized where you could select your courses. So you want to know what class that I got into?
7 a.m.
The 8 a.m. Friday class, spring semester, freshman year.
That's brutal. Yeah.
So
you just can't,
do you
can't
think
go. You can't go.
When I say it out loud and I look back on it and I say that I literally didn't go into the School of Business because of pledgeship, sounds ridiculous, but like
that's real.
I'm gonna be vulnerable. Like that is why I didn't do it.
For sure.
I was like, oh, you're going to take off a half of a letter grade after every class that I miss after 2?
No.
I'm good on that. Thanks.
And we were for sure not getting home until like 3 or 4 a.m.
Right, every night.
Every night. We're working our asses off, dude.
Right.
Hard
like
work.
I'm already out here teaching myself values that you're not yet teaching me.
Yeah.
I'll take the real life experience.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I was at, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to throw their name out there, but I know other people in our pledge class that like took significant hits academically because of like partying and stuff like that. Or at least that's what they said the reason was. I mean, definitely fucked my grades up. I had to basically get 2 concussions my senior year just because I couldn't handle class. So, did you heard this?
What? Hold on. Yeah, you're gonna have to elaborate.
So
I had to get the fact that you're leading with I had to get 2 concussions.
I will say if this pod ever blows up, you guys can come back and dig this up. This will ruin me. Not really, but
I'm sure you'll get into this, but I have to ask. How did you concuss yourself?
So the first time I was working at Kilroy's, shout out to Kilroy's, and you might have been there. It was one of the nights that like it was an all-staff meeting at sports, and they brought in a third-party security program.
Was I working at Roy's yet at this time?
I think I can't remember. I can't keep the timeline straight. It was like relatively early. I might not have been. I think I was bar backing at the time, so you might have been.
So
there.
I wasn't. Because I didn't start until you were bartending.
Oh, okay.
Because it was you and Ian first, and then Carter started.
Me and Carter started together.
Okay. And then it was Ian.
Yep.
And then me and Ian never overlapped.
Oh.
So I started as door staff after he had left, because he was carding, right?
So you were later. Yeah, he carded for a while early.
I think it also not my favorite experience because I started working there even though I had a fake ID and I was the last one in our pledge class to turn 21. And because I was working there, they knew I wasn't 21.
Yeah,
so I couldn't
brutal.
go. So like I remember Little 5 junior year whenever like a good chunk of our group was already 21.
Yeah.
Like when it was time to go to the bars, I'm just sitting alone in 210 like
that's brutal that
damn.
they knew you weren't 21.
Right. And they wouldn't let me come in.
Yeah, that
Which, like,
fucking sucks.
Respect to them because as an establishment, like don't.
I mean, clearly they
can't do it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. But like it was one of those things where it was just like,
damn.
Well, fuck! I kind of just backed myself into a corner here.
Did you realize it after the fact? Yeah.
Because I didn't start working there until the summer between.
Okay. Yeah. And then like at that point, quitting doesn't do you any good. They still know you're not 21. Right. Like they know how old you are.
Right. And then fucking, if you're watching this, love you. Moose was the head carder at the time.
Oh, I know this story.
He didn't like me. We'll just leave it there for now. But anyway, how did you concuss yourself?
Yeah, all staff meeting. We had to sit through like a security program of like how to deal with like hostile fucking clients. And at the end of it, the owners were like, yeah, so we got you guys free alcohol, wells, and beer for the next hour. Go for it. And of course, in college, you're like, an hour, that's a challenge. I'm going to go fucking crazy.
Right. 12 shots, 4 beers.
12 shots. And I found out after the fact, I went into work after I'd been diagnosed with a concussion. And I'm not going to throw names out because I can get in trouble. But somebody that was higher up than me, that was a friend. And I will say I was a willing acceptee, even though I didn't know it was happening. He fucking threw a goddamn Xanax in one of my drinks. And I'd never really taken it at that point. Not like that. Right. It's just a bad recipe. So, again, I'm not mad. I don't press charges. Yeah. I was a willing participant, even though I didn't know what was happening.
Consent is important.
Yeah,
Very
yeah.
important.
I give it I give it retroactively. Anyway, so that was the concoction. And the story that I'm told is we were living at 10th and Park. Ian was in the living room. And I was out on the front porch. We had concrete steps. Mm-hmm. And if you're in the living room, it's a straight shot through the kitchen to the front porch. You have a visual line.
Right.
And he's in the kitchen, and he looks out, and he just sees me kind of stumble back and fall down the steps head first. From what I remember, I wake up in my bed, and I'm like, oh, man, like, no idea. I had the whole thing explained to me through Ian. So this is Ian's story, basically. And I was like, damn, well, my head fucking hurts. I don't know that I was like truly concussed, honestly, but I went to the doctors and I gave them everything that I was feeling. And they're like, yeah, you're concussed. Sent a letter out to all my classes, which is like, I don't feel great about it. Like, I would like to have taken those classes, but also writing fucking papers sucked at the time, which is all you did. And I was good for 8 weeks, so I missed like the whole rest of the semester. And this aced out. They couldn't take any points away from me, so I just fucking had my A's.
So you just like didn't have to school for 8 weeks?
I had like basic. I was still studying because the stuff was interesting to me.
Right, of course.
But I mean, yeah, I didn't have to do papers. I didn't have to take like a bunch of quizzes. I took the test still, but that was fine for me. I never had an issue with that. But all the busy work, all the bullshit, I didn't have to do any of that. And then the next semester, I got fucked up and hit my head. Not that hard.
But it reconcussed.
I ran it back. It back, baby. 2 semesters.
8 weeks again the second time?
It was just like, basically every time it's like, until you feel better, it's an automatic 8. And I think how long is a semester? 8 weeks, right?
9? 10,
9 or
12?
8?
Well, August to December. That's what? Let's say 2 weeks for August, and then 9, 10, 11, 12. Let's take out 4 weeks for... Yeah, so probably 10 to 12 weeks was probably a semester.
Yeah, so somewhere in there. I mean, I remember doing some work and just being like, fuck this shit, and then... Huh? Oh, yeah. Me too.
Oh,
right.
Look at that.
Beautiful. We'll be right back.
And we are back.
We're back. Second concussion. Yeah, I wrote that out, and I graduated with 3.8.
I'm not going to say you got your senior year for free, but...
It feels that way. I kind of gas it up. I'm gassing it up for the podcast. You don't come after me. But yeah, it felt that way. I definitely might have exaggerated some things, but I definitely had 2 concussions, and I got diagnosed twice.
It at least sounds like you weren't intentionally looking for the concussions.
Oh, yeah.
Which is the way you initially phrased it. I thought that you had concussed yourself because your grades were bad and you needed an out, not the other way around.
Yeah, it was
I didn't think that it was.
It was not a Mike the Situation scenario where I just ran my head into the wall.
You know they still film that show.
Yeah. So what's the deal? Mike is sober.
He's sober and he's out of prison.
Yep,
for his tax fraud or evasion or whatever it was.
That's crazy.
It was some sort of white-collar financial crime that, if we're being completely honest, I don't think he knew he was committing. I mean, maybe he did.
Yeah,
maybe
what's the deal with that? Like, can you not plead ignorance at a level? I don't want the IRS to come hot on us. Fuck.
I mean, I'm gonna go with no, because I feel like you know what the consequences could be at a certain level of income if you don't report your income. No, I mean maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I'm not gonna lie to you. TurboTax does my taxes every year, so I don't really know.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, you give the numbers and it is what it is. But
And it's like the government knows what you owe them, which is whole.
yeah, and they'll come like decades,
This
like
whole
a decade later.
The
and be
whole
like,
tax ecosystem is there's a term for it. I forget what the term is, but it's its own ecosystem that only exists because the companies that wanted to lobby and make it exist lobbied to make it exist.
the tax ecosystem,
No, there's a
being that like TurboTax exists when the government should offer like their own system.
not even that. There's this term. It's see, I'm speaking out of turn here. There's a term that's not. It's not specific to the tax industry. It is a term that is used to describe a redundant, like loop iterative ecosystem that creates itself.
Sure,
Right.
like
I forget what the term. There's a term for it.
no, I know what you're saying. I'm like trying to think. Is it the same thing as something that people argue the government should just handle? Like, for example, insurance. People argue is a mafia, and they should just like the government should just handle it. Not that.
It's
okay.
Not, it's not
okay.
that. It's like if you walk into like take Foxtrot for example, right? You walk in and you see a lot of the different brands that are in there, and like they've created this ecosystem that is catered to the young professional.
Okay.
It's all the same company that owns everything.
Oh.
All of the brands are the same thing, but they want to make you think that you're buying different things.
It's almost like a splintering of the parent company into different de facto.
Let me see if I can find that. If I said the term, it would make more sense.
Yeah,
but anyway.
You're good. You're good. Our producer is off, so like
huge tangent to what we were just talking about.
Yeah, let's bring it back. Bring it back.
The Jersey Shore series.
Yeah, fucking Jersdays. I lived for Jersdays.
They still film the show. It's
called,
it's under the title Jersey Shore Family Vacation.
Balling.
Admittedly, I watch it semi regularly. I haven't seen the last season or two, but they brought JWoww back, man.
Wait, was she ever gone?
No, Sammy. They brought Sammy
Sweetheart
back.
Ooh, spicy, dude.
Major drama.
Really?
I'm not huge on like the reality TV scene. Like,
catch me up. Like,
I can't. I haven't seen the last two seasons. So like basically
like Snooki's a mom. I know that, right?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you much more. Like the last thing that I remember seeing was like Ronnie was having like a huge domestic dispute with his
I remember something about that
thing at the time in Las Vegas, and like
are JWoww's boobs still popping?
I have to imagine the answer is yes.
Okay. Silicone don't quit. I guess.
Right. It doesn't. And if it does, she doesn't. So like it's fine.
Fair enough. She does not quit. She's a feisty bitch. In the best ways, JWoww. In the best ways.
For sure. Dude, absolutely. That's the type of energy we strive for. 100%.
I saw her live. She was like on stage at a Tiesto concert the one time I went to Vegas.
At a Tiesto concert?
Tiesto was fucking bumping in this club. Like, I've never been in a club where I could not. I thought I was getting hearing loss every moment I was in there. I couldn't hear anything.
Is it bad that pretty much every bar I go into now feels like that on a Friday or Saturday?
I'm right there with you, brother. I'm right there with you. My threshold is like 2 decibels, man. If people are whispering too loud, it's too much for me. I'm right there with you, man. And just like the bumping and the touching. You're asking me to stand in a bar right now and do nothing with my hands other than have a beer in my hand? I'm going to chug it. I don't know what to do with my hands. I'm going to chug.
Right.
And pace.
And then maybe talk to someone I know who might remember the conversation, or the alternative of talk to someone I don't know who's certainly not going to remember the conversation.
Spare me, dude.
Anyways.
Spare me. I'm not going to do it. I'm right there with you, dude.
JWoww at Tiesto.
Yeah, that was it. I literally looked up and I heard on the Tiesto goes, oi, oi, oi. JWoww is here. It was advertised too. Like we knew JWoww was like making an appearance.
So it was like a thing. It wasn't just like a spontaneous.
No. Nothing spontaneous. She showed up. Like I was so far away. I couldn't tell you it was JWoww, but other than her boobies, they were magnified across the room. Other than that, I mean, yeah, I was in the same room as JWoww, but that's
pretty cool.
Not really, but it's something.
Fun. I mean, it is kind of cool. So fun fact. I didn't do a whole lot of vacationing when I was a kid.
Okay.
And when we did go places, we would drive.
Nice.
And like,
as you should.
as a kid, for me, knowing that air travel exists, I'm like, not understanding the concept of finance. I'm like, what is this shit?
It's insane.
Like, why are you throwing me in a car for 16 hours when you could throw me on a plane for 2?
Wait,
Like, don't do this to me.
In what instances are you talking about?
So when we did vacation, so we had a lot of family friends that had or a family friend that had ties to New Jersey. Like their family was from New Jersey. And back in the day, we used to do this little event every year with some of our family friends where we would all go out to a place called Lavallette, New Jersey, which was right by Seaside Heights.
And you're driving from suburbs of Chicago.
My family drove. It was like 14. It was 14 to 16 hours. I think 14 on the show. I can't remember exactly offhand, but it was a long drive. It's not a short drive.
No,
I will say though, like driving through Pennsylvania and going through the Appalachians, beautiful,
cool
for sure, 100%. Like, don't get me wrong, any mountain range that you drive through. My sister used to live in Montana, so driving out there, going through like the Badlands, Yellowstone, Big Sky, all of the different state and national parks that are out there, fantastic. But we used to vacation in Lavallette, New Jersey, which was right by Seaside Heights. And for those of us who don't know, is where the original Jersey Shore first season was filmed.
So that's where the boardwalk is and all
Yes.
that. Okay.
So I remember the episode very vividly, but it was like a summer or two before Katrina hit. Rest in peace.
Oh, sheesh.
We stopped going after that, obviously, because
I thought Katrina was New Orleans.
You're right.
No, I don't know if I'm right. Don't concede.
I think you are right. There's a Sandy, maybe?
A big-ass hurricane, a big tropical storm. Sorry, I did not mean to derail your entire story.
Now I need to know.
No, I mean, I just don't want our viewers to be... A lot of kids get their only education from us.
It was Sandy.
Sandy,
It was not Katrina.
You're right.
I'm sorry to the entire state of Louisiana for that.
No, you're okay.
It was Hurricane Sandy. But Hurricane Sandy went through there and leveled everything.
Damn.
So we stopped going, which was really sad because that was part of my childhood.
Yeah.
But when we were there one summer, like the first season of Jersey Shore, when they were in that what looked to be just like standard apartment complex, 2 stories, that white building, it was like right there on the boardwalk, like half mile down from the beach house that we would stay in.
No shit, really?
And me and my sister and like one of our cousins and one of our aunts were just like walking down the boardwalk one night. And if you go into the first season of the Jersey Shore show, when they were in Seaside Heights, there's an episode where Snooki and Vinny are riding down the boardwalk on those motorized scooters that you would see, disabled people riding around in like a grocery store in, and they're just riding them up and down the boardwalk. And it's a very short visual piece of the episode that I'm referring to, and I'm not in it by any means. But I remember seeing it happen because I was trying to figure out what all the commotion was.
Shut the fuck up.
Because there's just camera crews just following them.
No way.
Yeah, right down the boardwalk. We walked into the store that they worked in when they lived in that house right there on the Seaside Heights boardwalk.
Unbeknownst to you had no idea that that show existed.
Time.
Holy fuck.
Not at the time.
That's hilarious.
And then as I got older and I started watching Jersey, that was like my one guilty reality TV pleasure was Jersey Shore, because I've never
I'm right there with you.
Really gotten into anything else.
Yeah.
And I started watching it and I was like, it's like just like that Leonardo DiCaprio meme where he's drinking a beer and smoking a cigarette, and he just like snaps his finger and he starts in Django where he starts pointing at the TV.
Yeah,
that was literally that moment for me.
That's fucking awesome.
Wild.
Well,
so,
you're allowed to have that. You're allowed.
There's my one, I guess you could say, Jersey Shore reality TV moment, but that was pretty cool. Ever since then, I was like, that's like my one guilty reality TV pleasure is I just like watching these semi and also faux Italian people scream at each other on TV.
Definitely faux. I'm glad you threw that in there. But yeah, it's
sure.
So who's your favorite? Who's your favorite character? Early season. We'll say season 2 or 3.
There's no there's no seasonal distinction. My two favorite characters, there's a
Perfect.
tie, and
That
I'm
was a
sure a
trick
lot
question.
of people are going to say this, is Vinny and Pauly D.
Vinny and Pauly D are the best. I can't believe you fucking
They're
pulled both of the
they're
two I wanted.
America's sweethearts, man.
They're fucking perfect,
I'm
dude.
telling you, dude.
There was one time I saw Pauly D had a fucking like. It took a lot for him to blow up, but I remember one season he fucking went nuclear, dude. And for a moment I go, this guy might not be it. And then I go, he's actually the truth. He's actually the best person for America right now. So,
I think part of my like favoritism with them is because I felt like they were like, I related most closely to them because I feel like they were like there and they weren't fully invested and they were just kind of like sitting there with a drink in their hand the whole time, just like,
yes. Like they acted
Like,
normal.
bro,
Like they weren't
what?
like super
Right.
involved in all the crazy
And
drama and just like observing.
crazy term to use, especially since it's so subjective, but like, I'm glad you said it. Like they were the most normal people on the show.
Yeah. Subjective, yes. But yeah, yeah.
It was like
you could definitely humanize with them and be like, okay, this is what I might act like. I might not be saying push up chapstick. What was it? Chapstick push up. Oh, fuck. They had so many cool
Gym
quotable
Tan
chants.
Laundry.
Gym Tan Laundry.
Cabs are here.
Cabs
Cabs
are
are
here.
here.
Cabs are here.
Cabs are here.
That was fucking awesome. I said that for way too long after that show.
I
all the way to
occasionally-
Ubers.
I occasionally catch myself saying that.
It's actually one of the cooler things
sure.
you could say. So I won't take it away from
I
you.
feel like I know the chapstick line that you're referring to, but I can't
Push up,
recite it.
push up, something chapstick, something push up, something chapstick. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
If
Anyway,
you're watching, comment it so we can fucking figure it out next.
let us know, please.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was
A big part of your childhood.
I would say big. I mean, the vacation was for a while.
Yeah, I forgot we started with vacations.
Jersey Shore wasn't.
We came all the way from
Well-
flying versus driving, which brings me to.
Well, we started with.
Well, we started way back farther than that. Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
even. We started even before we started talking about the situation in tax fraud.
Yeah. Well, that's the
But-
cool thing about this show. We just
But
fucking
we
find
now
tangents.
here we are.
We talked about hiring an intern, so now you're hiring, just slaving somebody, and having a whiteboard behind in the background,
Right,
and,
just to watch in real time what you're talking about
Yeah.
and where you go from
and
there.
drawing lines and just seeing like how crazy it
You'd
gets.
need
by
a
the end.
very large whiteboard for that.
It would be insanely large. Yeah, but I think that would play.
It'd be applicable. You'd have them sit right here and then pop the whiteboard up right here in this window frame, and they don't
Yes.
do anything. Kind of like Glenny Balls in Sunday Conversation.
Exactly. No
Just-
words,
bro.
Just
sit there and write. Like, don't say anything
I think we gotta do this.
unless the guest engages you. Your job is to be silent, to exist, and to write with this expo marker on this whiteboard.
we could probably get some DePaul kid, right?
Honestly.
Some kid that like couldn't get into Barstool. We could get somebody to do that, right? For free?
I
or
would-
or Mitch Vosberg if I give him a cheese ball or something.
I was gonna say, I hear your terms and I accept.
Dude, I think we'll have to investigate that a little bit.
Looking to see what that looks like. Yeah.
For sure. I'm playing with this idea. So usually Randall does like a would you rather
Okay.
at the end to kind of like sum
Yeah.
up somebody.
For sure.
I want to do my own spin on it. I'm going to do my game, which is, does this make you anxious?
Oh God. Okay. All right. Does this? I don't know where this is going, but I'm here for it. I guess. Well, quite literally, I'm physically here, so I have to be here for
Yeah,
it.
you're kind of stuck. So let's see. It's nothing crazy. It'll be a quick. It'll be a quickie.
I think before you even ask a question, the answer is yes. It makes me anxious.
I only ask you these questions because all of these things make me anxious. So, all right, number one. So you're walking in a public place. So let's say you're in you're at college and it's empty hallways. It's like later, not really that many people there. You turn a corner and you see like a professor like doing something on the wall. Bottom line, she doesn't know you're there and you need to pass her, right? Let me lay this out in better terms. You're at Target and you're cutting through aisles and something that you need is in the aisle, but there's somebody that you're going to have to pass by and they have no idea you're there.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make you anxious to walk by them without making any noise?
Without making it okay, so now
The-
you're putting
the
a
idea
condition
being-
on it.
The idea being that are you nervous you're going to surprise them because they have no idea you're there and you have to walk by them?
No.
Okay.
I don't think it makes me anxious for one primary reason. You're in a grocery store. There's other people there. Like,
go back to my college idea. You shouldn't you're surprising somebody. So I draw this from work. I go to the hospitals a lot, and there's sometimes where you're just alone for a long time,
Yeah.
and somebody can kind of spook you.
okay.
Are you nervous of spooking anybody? Does it make you anxious?
I wouldn't say it makes me anxious so much so as I have a little bit of tentative reservation of, do I make my presence known or do I try to slide by without alerting this individual that I'm there?
You got to the root of it. If you
So-
choose to make your presence known, in what method do you make your presence known?
Ooh, that's a really
I
good
have a
question.
go-to. I make my presence known. If I don't want to spook somebody,
Okay, so
I do something.
I'm gonna break. So two things.
Yep.
One, if they're kind of in my way, I will just say excuse me, straight.
That's a gimme. They're
Like-
not in your way, but it's just enough where you might have to slide by, and you're within 6 inches of them.
6 inches. That's close.
6
quarters.
inches,
6
even with the body turn.
So even if I'm
But they're bent over and looking at a shelf. Imagine a library. You're in a library and the librarian's on the bottom shelf organizing by Dewey Decibel System.
no, I get what you're saying.
I
Sorry
throw
that my
Dewey Decibel out
reflection is
there.
coming across as misunderstanding.
No.
I hear what you're saying.
I wanted to work Dewey Decibel in, and that's the way I had to do it.
I feel like you worked that in. Okay, hold on. I don't know. I think I just go for it. Do I have to make my presence known?
That's the thing. Does it make you anxious enough that you have to do something to say, my presence is known, and go by? Or do you just try to slide by like a ninja?
So
The risk being, if you startle them, they go, oh,
I'm
and
gonna
you're a guy. It's always a girl.
I'm gonna
If
be
it's a-
decisive.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be decisive.
Tell me.
The answer is I will probably just try to go by. If they're not in the way and I think I can get by, I'll just try to go by.
Okay.
Depending on the situation, if I feel like it's fit, I will say something. It's not any one particular thing, but I'll if I feel like it's necessary, just so that this person doesn't freak out or I don't find myself in an unfavorable situation, I'll say something. I might even just make a noise. I might just cough.
That's huge. Coughing's good.
Other than that, I just if you get scared, and you're in a public place,
Yeah, that's the thing. Public place.
that's your problem. I'm sorry. I'm going to be conscious of you and your space and your existence there. But as another person, you should also be conscious of your space and realize that even though it might not be busy, you are in a public space and you probably shouldn't be torso and ass all the way out in whatever aisle you are in, regardless if it's a grocery store or a hallway or a library. And
This
you
is
should
all
just
truth.
keep your distance. So that is my answer, even though it was a 4-part answer. Is
I have a 2-part response to this.
okay. All right, let's hear it.
One, you brought up a side note. You brought up one of the biggest fucking personal grind my gears issues I have, which is people not
hear it.
being aware of anything else going around them. It drives me up a fucking wall. Dude, you're standing in the middle of a sidewalk and it's a busy fucking sidewalk in Chicago and you think you just stop and talk to your friend.
My least favorite is when a couple is walking with either an animal or a stroller and taking up the entire sidewalk real estate.
What are you doing?
For me, it makes me more anxious trying to not say something to them
Yeah.
about how inconsiderate they're being.
Yes.
And that's my thing. Is just common sense, as much of a cliche as the statement is not fucking common.
No, it's not common
It's
at all.
bro, just be a decent human being.
Oh
That's
my
all I'm
God.
asking for. Be conscious of your space and the fact that you're not in a private space.
drives
That's
me
all it
nuts.
is. It's
Yeah.
simple. Anyway,
Dude,
sorry.
You put that into words that I couldn't put it into. Yes, that is one of my. So that was my 1A response to what you just said. 2, my go-to. So it's not really a response. But my go-to to make, so I always side on the, I'm always on the side of making my presence known.
Mm-hmm.
I've had too many instances where females, like usually older ladies, I'm literally thinking of a specific older lady that like cleans instruments at this place I work at, and I walk in the room and she's always like, oh, just like super loud. And I'm like, well, fuck, I just walked into the room. Like, I don't really know what to do.
Well, and that's why I said, like, it's situational. Like, not every situation is going to be the same.
That's
right?
very true.
Like
it's very situational. I should have drawn up a better map of
certain
like, what was
types
going
of
on.
instances that fit into certain categories or like certain response criteria. But like,
I can draw it up perfectly. This is the question I meant to ask. We're going to start the session now.
all right,
You're
rewind.
walking down the sidewalk. Some girl is just taking her sweet time, having a nice walk, but you're walking at a pace that you're going to have to pass her. You're the only two people on this block, and it's 7 p.m., so the sun's going down. Do you make your presence known?
I walk in the street, bro.
You walk in the street?
I
do that too.
I don't fuck around, man. I don't think I'll not
do
because
that too.
I'm uncomfortable, but because I am the type of semi-empath that realizes that might not be comfortable for that person,
Sure.
especially if
Yes.
they're of the other gender.
Okay.
And like,
There we
it's
go.
not even like, I don't want you to know that I'm there. I want you to know that I'm keeping my distance from
Yes.
you.
Yes. Okay. So I'm
Like,
glad I
if
framed it
if
in a way that
if
made
it's
sense.
applicable, sometimes I'll cross the street.
Dude,
Like if I see
I'll
it-
cross the street for no reason, and I'll take an extra long route just so I'm not like right up on somebody.
I don't think I'll go that far. Like I'll walk
I'm
in the
gonna
street
get
if like I'm not putting myself in danger, or like if I see that it's
But you cross
potentially
the
going
street-
to happen and I see a crosswalk, like I'll
Yeah.
cross really quick. Like
Okay.
minor inconvenience for me, more steps, fantastic, whatever, that's cool. But like
I'm right there with you.
maybe
dude.
I'm just too conscious of other people, I guess.
Oh.
But it's like it's a common sense thing.
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to do that, but I'm more than willing to do it
And
because
I'm
it does feel uncomfortable. I had one time where I was walking down literally to my place, and I had to go there. There's no crossing, and the girl literally looked over her shoulder, like, and was nervous that I was walking behind her. I could totally tell.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Fuck, man! Like, I'm super nervous. Like, I'm
Did you
not
say
doing
some-
anything."
Did you say something?
No,
to her?
because I literally took 3 other steps and put my key into my door and walked into my apartment. So I think it made her feel better.
Yeah.
I didn't have to pass her or anything, but like I just was behind her for a period of 30 seconds.
Right. It just depends on the person.
Yeah. So, anyways, if I need to make my presence known, I'll do a street cross or I'll do a street. But if I need to make it known that I'm going to pass you, I'll skid my shoes on the sidewalk, and
See,
then
I
they
have
know
a-
I'm coming up.
I used
So
to
it's like a
drag my
warning.
feet when I was a kid.
It's a
and
feet
I
drag.
used-
It's a foot
I
drag.
used to get made fun of for it, and now I'm very conscious of how I walk.
Well, I'll do 1 or 2. I'll act like a foot dragger just so I'm like my
Pretend
presence
like
is
you're
known.
wiping some dirt off of your shoe. On the
Dog shit or
concrete.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, all right, I'm glad we took about 5 minutes to get through one.
All
Does
right.
it make you
anyway,
anxious?
Continue.
We'll bang through these next ones. Talking to 2 other people, you're in a group of 3. Talking to 2 other people at a party, and one of the people goes, "Oh, I gotta go to the bathroom." He's leaving the conversation. It's just you and one other person now.
You're asking me questions that aren't just like simple answers.
Oh,
Do
that
I-
makes me super. Okay.
Do I know this person?
Two
Have
strangers,
I never met
two-
them
two-
before? Like
you met
I
two
need
people-
more context on who the person that I'm potentially talking to is.
All right, thank you for holding me accountable. 2 people you literally just met and you just starting the conversation. That is your initial conversation with both people, and one of the other people is just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom." So now you're stuck with somebody you just started talking to 30
Ooh.
seconds ago. Does it make you anxious?
To an extent, for sure.
Yeah, I
Like,
have
I'm just kind of
nightmares over that.
I'm just kind of at a point in my life where it's like I'm not an antisocial person, but I'm not interested in necessarily making new friends.
Yeah,
Like if it happens organically, great, but like
it takes a lot.
depends
to
if
have
we're
a new
vibing.
friendship.
Like I mean, if
Yeah.
the initial vibe with the person, I'm gonna assume that the person who went to the bathroom introduced us, like in some capacity or another. Maybe it was a work acquaintance, maybe it was a friend's friend, like whatever it might be.
Sure.
Right. I'm gonna assume I'm not just talking to 2 random strangers solely because I would not find myself talking to 2 random strangers at any given point. But I mean, to an extent, yeah, it would probably make me anxious. Like
Yeah.
it would just, I guess, depend on my initial impression of the person. But yeah, I would say based on the people that I surround myself with, and again, operating.
This is a work event. You don't know anybody.
Yeah, I mean, ooh.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not like
okay.
you-
So see, we've got more context
yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. It's a work event.
It's a work event. So I mean, in the scope of my company, the chances that I'm anxious are probably pretty high because if it's not someone who I directly work with, I don't know if I'm like.
And you're almost more liable
you
to
could
just
be,
hurt yourself.
You could be a director. You could be an SVP. You could be executive leadership. Like, you don't know. So would I be anxious? Not just because I'm anxious talking to a new person, but more so because
your career's on the line.
In this particular instance, that you could be someone extremely important. Yeah, sure, I'm going to be anxious. But like if we're talking like we're not applying a specific scenario to it, and it's just like the context is somebody you know has introduced you to someone you don't know. The person that you knew has walked away. They went to the bathroom. They went to do something else, and now you're standing in front of this random person that you don't know. I'm going to be a little anxious.
Fair.
For sure.
You handled that. Yeah, you said. What did you say? You said something that was really applicable to me. I can't remember, but yeah. So, I personally definitely would be anxious, just in a general sense. But I agree like with you. It's just harder to make new friends at this age, you know. Right. And like, I actually would like find myself. I used to be like really anxious about that stuff, but now it's more so like I am so comfortable just being awkward and not saying anything. And I'll go as far as to be like, oh, he's going to the bathroom. I'm going to walk somewhere else. Good to talk to you. So like, if I really don't have an interest in continuing that conversation, which is something it makes me kind of an asshole, but I'll do it.
Who cares?
Okay, the last two things we're going to do yes or no's.
Okay.
No follow-up. Murder.
Are you asking me if murder...
Does murder make you anxious? Murder.
Well, fucking course.
And then
what the fuck?
Just my. I'm
gonna have to come back for a part 2 on that one. Because that
I know.
I need more. I have to.
And then just existing.
Yes.
Okay, of course.
Have you seen the current climate?
Of course.
Yes.
All right. So yeah,
yes.
You actually scaled better than me. I got 4 out of 4. You stood strong on 1 and 2.
We'll do like 2.5.
Yeah, whatever. But yeah, current climate, man, it's fucking crazy out there.
Fucking climate.
We're moving on though. We're doing our thing.
Let's talk about.
So you just started up your Twitch stream again. You're under Calvert CLXC.
So it's kind of annoying because I'm one of those weirdos who substituted a vowel for an X.
No, you're
good. So if you go on Twitch and you just type in CxlvyOnTwitch, I will be the first one that pops up. It's my direct tag, which we'll put in the show notes, is twitch.tv/CxlvyOnTwitch on Twitch. Pretty straightforward. Again, if you just type in those first 5 letters, it'll pop up. Yeah, I'm just getting back into streaming. I'm an affiliate. Part of the reason that I bought the PC was to make that experience a little bit easier. Part of that was also because I've been looking at buying a PC for some time, but I'm going to be getting into a pretty regular schedule when it comes to the streaming. I'm working with a very good friend of mine, all social media at It's Propa, who's helping me with a lot of my graphic design, a lot of my content creation, my logos, my banners, my animations, my emotes, things of that nature. He's a very talented music producer, and
shout out to Jonah.
Jonah does a lot of great work. Highly recommend you check out some of his stuff. He's on all of your music streaming platforms. You can find him anywhere. Chicago local, born and raised. But yeah, so I've been doing the streaming thing. I'm trying to get back into it and really coming to my own with that. And a lot of work to be done there. But hopefully some folks can pop on by, check it out. I'm a big fan of just creating positive vibes, kind of like we're doing here and kind of like you're doing with the podcast. So we're going to keep going for it.
Absolutely, dude. Well, thank you so much for making it, dude. I
appreciate
it.
Me, man.
We had a good day. We had a good day otherwise. Just hanging out prior and stuff, looking at fucking movie trailers together.
Shout out A24 Studios.
A24. We got to get somebody from there on there.
Season 6 of Black Mirror coming back finally after a few years of absence.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
It's going to be nice. Check it out. Yeah, check out Calvy. It's Calvy. Instead of the A, it's an X. CxlVy in Twitch. And, yeah, again, Randall couldn't make it today, but hopefully his BBL is recovered and we can see him next week. And thanks for everybody that's been watching us. Check us out on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube here, obviously. So appreciate it. And peace out, everybody.
Thank you all. Thank you.